All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started so we have plenty of time for our speaker this evening. So thank you for attending. For those that may not know me, Dr. Erin McKinley, I am the current brand president. So I want to start off, since this is technically an official meeting of the group, with some actual updates. And one of the updates is that LAND, our state affiliate, I'm also on that board as well in two different capacities. And we've been going back and forth on discussions about some proposed changes to the district's setup. So currently there are, I think, only 4 active districts in the state: Brand, the New Orleans area, and then Senla, and then one towards the northern area of the state. And it's become increasingly difficult for some of the districts to operate properly due to lack of volunteers to help out, a lack of funds, and then a lack of interest from the RDs and DTRs and students that live in those particular areas. And so there are some districts, Brand not included, who would like to possibly restructure based off of their need. Some districts have completely disappeared over the past couple of years. And we're trying to make sure that all of the RDs located all over the state have some sort of district to call home. So LAND is considering changing the district structure so that our groups can be more successful. So they have presented to us options, and these options were essentially created by our executive director who works for the academy. And this is similar to some of the options that have been presented to other states who don't operate on the current district structure that we have right now. And so for those that may not be familiar with it, our structure right now is that we have our districts, we operate underneath LAND in an agreement, but we operate all of our own funds. We take care of all of our own business with regard to membership, collecting membership, booking our CEUs, paying for CEUs, booking events, paying for events, all those sorts of things. We take care of our own elections. We do everything on our own. We do not ask LAND for pretty much any permission to do anything because we're not doing anything dangerous. We just sign an agreement with LAND saying that we'll follow all of the academy's rules and all of LAND's bylaws, which are not hard to follow. So we've been presented with a couple of options on how we can change. The number one option would be for all of the districts to become external to the academy and to LAND, which would mean that we pretty much would be doing everything we're doing right now, except we would now file as our own 501c6, which is a professional organization, and we would pay our own taxes as opposed to LAND group lumping us into their taxes. The second option is to have internal districts. Sorry, I spelled that wrong on this slide, which would mean that we would operate very similarly, except LAND would assume all financial and legal operations, including seizing all of our current assets, which is we have quite a bit of assets that LAND may or may not know about right now, that we've been collecting over the years into bank accounts that have high yield in order for us to supply scholarships. And so they would pretty much take care of all of the operations, and then we would have, just like we have now, an elected committee that would run the month-to-month meetings and CEU talks as we have now. And then the third option that they're proposing is a regional, to where all of the districts would be dissolved, all districts would turn over all of their assets to LAND, and then LAND would assume financial and legal operations for every group. And then from there, LAND would appoint regional directors, and then those directors would have to come up with budgets, and we would essentially have to ask LAND for our money back to use each year. And so what I've done is I've created a Google Doc, that first link right there, that has all of the information that I just talked about. I would love for our membership to take a look at this and to supply me with some comments so that I can bring to the next LAND meeting on December 2nd. So that I'm not just speaking for how I feel about this. So the second link is just a Google form with some feedback. So it's just two quick questions to leave us some feedback on what you think about that and what you think Brand should do. Can I see the next slide? So for something more exciting, we're doing another social next month. So instead of doing a holiday party, we're going to do something different to change it up for y'all. And we're going to do kind of celebrating our members' milestones for 2021. So we have a lot of new RDs that have passed the exam this year. We have a lot of new graduates from the different programs in the state. We have folks getting new certifications. We have folks getting new jobs, new promotions, all kinds of really positive stuff despite COVID. So we want to celebrate our members by having an event on Tuesday, December 14th. It's going to be very casual, in and out between 5 and 8. You don't have to stay the whole 3 hours, just come for whenever you can. It's going to be located at Mid-City Beer Garden. So since that is an establishment with adult beverages, you have to be 21 years of age or older. So I'm sorry for our younger student members, but that's just the rules that they put forth. With most of the venues in town have that kind of rule. So we'll send out an email about that, but if you want to mark your calendar now, that would be great. And we'd certainly encourage you to join us. So I'm actually going to turn it over to Brooke to introduce our speaker for this evening.
Hey guys, welcome and thank you all for being with us this evening. Please utilize the chat to enter any questions you may have, and please remain muted until the open Q&A at the end. This talk is being recorded for those who are unable to be with us this evening. So tonight's CEU approved topic is titled A Roadmap to Entrepreneurship Within Dietetics by Alexis D. Motley, MS, RDN, LDN. Alexis is contagiously positive and passionate about nutrition and creating healthy lifestyles for everyone in her community. She is known for her comprehensive approach that encompasses a positive relationship with food and physical activity. Alexis takes her professional expertise and practical ideas to make nutrition fun and easy. Alexis received her Bachelor of Science in Nutrition from Southern University A&M College. This is where she commissioned in the United States Army as a second lieutenant within the Engineer Corps. After serving her country proudly, Alexis attended McNeese State University, where she received her graduate degree in health and human performance, as well as completed the dietetic internship program. She started her dietetics career at Lake Charles Memorial Hospital, and as a military spouse, moving around the country every few years became her way of life. Colorado is where she became a consulting dietitian for 5-star senior living. While working with patients at this location, Alexis took her love for food to help create nutritious menus with fun activities to enhance the living experience for senior citizens. Alexis returned back to Louisiana, taking a consulting position as the senior registered dietitian at Fort Polk to serve the soldiers and families at Bain Jones Army Community Hospital. As her involvement grew, she collaborated with healthcare teams to create a comprehensive treatment program focused on healthy weight and body image for children, adolescents, and families who desired prevention and treatment for weight management, diabetes, and other metabolic concerns. In 2019, Alexis started Red River Medical Nutrition to address the health concerns in her community. During the COVID shutdown, Alexis started a small garden in her backyard for her children. This was the birthplace of the My Kid Plate Garden project. This project was created to teach children the importance of a healthy lifestyle while providing access to healthy foods in communities located in food deserts. Healthy children will create healthy communities in the future. Currently, Alexis is enrolled in the Nutrition PhD program at LSU. Alexis is a devoted wife, mother of 2 amazing little boys, and community outreach organizer. Alexis has a down-to-earth approach to nutrition guidance oriented to her clients' goals of making healthy the new normal. Please welcome Miss Alexis Motley.
Well, thank you very much for that introduction. I'm going to share my screen really quickly. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alexis Motley, like she said, and today we'll be talking about a roadmap to entrepreneurship within dietetics. So I'm really excited to talk about how I journeyed into dietetics and how I got started in my career and going into Red River Medical Nutrition, which is my current private practice. So these are our learning objectives that we will go over tonight. We'll understand some skills and key strategies that are needed to achieve a new entrepreneurial venture in dietetics, which includes marketing, finance, and legal issues, discuss the benefits of working with a potential partner or maybe getting investors, discuss the importance of teamwork in business and steps on how to work through challenges as a team. review how to set up contracts with insurance companies, state, federal contracts to enhance your dietetics business, review the importance of a business plan to secure funding or start or growing a business. We're going to talk about some personal attributes to assist with the entrepreneurial opportunities and explore different entrepreneurial leadership and management style to assist with running a new business venture. Okay, so I just want to talk about my journey into dietetics. I know you heard my bio, but I come from a small town, Oakdale, Louisiana. It's a town less than 10,000. So if I had to guesstimate, I would say it's about 6,000 to 7,000 people in my little town. But while I was there, I was introduced to an organization called FCCLA, or Family Career Community Leaders of America. This organization, we heard about it when I was in my family consumer sciences classes. And so I joined. Once I joined this organization, I started taking different offices from the parish level all the way up to the state level. I was elected the state president when I was in high school of FCCLA. And this is when I had the opportunity to travel to different universities and learn about different careers in family and consumer science. And this is where I learned about dietetics. So after graduating, I went to Southern University, where I was a Army ROTC scholarship winner. And while I was there, I majored in human nutrition. I commissioned into the Army, not in dietetics, but actually I commissioned into the Corps of Engineers. While I was there, I used that time to save my money for an internship because I knew I wanted to go back and do my internship. So once I got out of the military, I ventured into real estate for a while. I would invest in homes, and I would either flip them or rent them out. So I have a little real estate background. I thought I might go into real estate and maybe be a real estate agent, but that's really was not my calling. Dietetics pulled me back, and I did my dietetic internship in my master's program at McNeese State University. And then after graduating, I dove into dietetics, my dietetics career, where I worked in the clinical setting. I've worked in the outpatient setting. And while I was working in the outpatient setting at Fort Polk, Louisiana, I realized that I was only seeing patients or clients at the time that were affiliated with the military. And I wanted to be able to outreach other people who potentially wanted my services that were not in the military. So that is why I created Red River Medical Nutrition, my private practice. And so that's what we'll start journeying into the topic for today. So when you think about being an entrepreneur, you really need to think about who you are as a person, because being an entrepreneur, it takes a lot of work. You got to be highly energetic, motivated, passionate about what you do. And I feel like in our dietetics career, we think about helping people. We want to help people. That's great. But when you want to start a private practice or do anything, starting your own business, you really need to be ambitious about it. You need to have grit. So I really looked up grit, and it said that you have to have, when you have true grit, you have passion and perseverance. You work incredibly hard for your goals, and you work through adversity. And these are some of the attributes that I feel like I learned in the military, working through different adverse situations, challenges. And as an entrepreneur, you'll see those same challenges starting up your business. We are trained to be nutrition experts, and we are not trained to be a business person per se. So if you are thinking about being an entrepreneur, I would highly recommend you take classes, even if you're going to take it on the undergraduate level, or contact the Small Business Administration. They have tons of free courses that you can take to kind of help you get that business background that you're looking for. I saw this summer that the Small Business Administration, they offered courses in marketing and advertisement for small businesses. You had to join the course. And I think it was maybe a month or 2 month course that you had to join. But upon graduation, they provided those small business owners with an additional $2,000 towards their business to use towards advertising. So the Small Business Administration has tons of courses that you can use. So if you are looking to get some of that business background, I highly, highly encourage you to look into taking courses and finding out what you need to know, finding out as much as you need to know when it comes to a business background, because you have to improvise as a small business owner. You have to be very resourceful. You want to, get your best bang for your buck. So you want to make sure you get that business background. So when you think about who you are, and being an entrepreneur, think about some of the things it takes to be an entrepreneur. So I really like this picture, and it kind of sums up what you have to do to be a true entrepreneur. One thing that I really learned, I think, as being an entrepreneur is being very optimistic. I feel like the glass is always half full. There's always something positive I can find in this situation or learn about this situation. You will come up with some challenge. You'll face some challenges, but I feel like a true entrepreneur knows that they have to take risks to be successful. So there's different type of management styles you see out there. When I look at the management styles that are out, I'm like, okay, who am I? I know I'm not authoritative at all. A visionary, I feel like I do see things like come with me, like the person put down. Coaching is a lot. You have to do a lot of coaching. So I feel like I'm a visionary / coaching type management style. But when you look at these different management styles, this is what you probably can fall into these different categories. So, when you're thinking about entrepreneurship or starting your own business or, who you are, look at these different management styles, see what works best. And, I try to glean from each management style. Sometimes, you have to take authority, you have to take charge when in charge, but you can also be democratic also and get the opinions of other people when you're building your team. So thinking about the different management styles that's very important, because it's going to help kind of formulate who you are as a leader with your team as an entrepreneur. So figuring out what you want to do with your team and how you want to run your team. So I think I wanted to make sure we kind of went over some of the different management styles so you can see which management styles are out there. But when it comes to being an entrepreneur leadership, entrepreneurs cannot make a business successful by themselves. You need a team. Even if you're going to be the only practitioner in the office, you still are going to build a team. So it's very important that you build an awesome team, be able to identify your strengths and weaknesses. And when I think about entrepreneurship, I always think about the head coach of a football team or a basketball coach. Some of the very famous football coaches we know, like Mike Tomlin, Andy Reid, Tony Dungy, and of course, we are some Saints fans in here. So Sean Payton, they can identify the strengths and weaknesses of their team. They know who to recruit, who not to recruit. They know which positions to put these players in. And as a leader, you need to be able to do the same things. The first thing as a leader, I would advise you to do is kind of figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are, write them down. And it's okay to say, I'm not that strong in this area, but you build a team around you to make sure you have those strengths that, build up that weakness that you might have. But when you find people to put on your team that can build your team to be the most successful team that you need. So building is very important. And I always think about football. They're always talking about, when I hear my husband watch like the ESPN clips, they're always talking about, building that team, making the team work and finding out who's going to work well together. So as an entrepreneur, you are the head coach of your team, and you have to make sure you build the right team to make sure that your business will be successful. You're only as successful as your weakest link. I know it sounds like, I guess, a little cliche, but you want to make sure that building an awesome team means bringing strength to your team and kind of eliminate those weaknesses. If you're weak in procrastination, you bring someone on who will make sure that they're really good with time management and you're not procrastinating. Or if you're not good with social media, you bring in a social media expert that's going to build that up on your team, and you don't have to worry about those things. So just those small things. So taking time to write down your strengths and weaknesses would be very important, so you'll know how to build your team. Like, I'm really good at this, but I might not be that great at that. So if you're not great with legal stuff, it's very important to hire a great lawyer. Or if you're not good with your money and you might need a great accountant. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but I'm big on building an awesome team, because your team will make or break you. All right. So when you're starting a business, there's always a lot of great resources out there. So how do you know you're ready to start your business as an entrepreneur? So I found, if you click on the bottom link, the small business readiness assessment, it kind of gives you ask you questions. Are you ready to start your business? I read one of the books when I was thinking about starting a business. I took a survey asking me different questions to see if I was ready to start my business. There's different small business aptitude tests or the small business readiness tool that you can use when thinking about starting a business. But some of the questions that you should want to consider is, do I consider myself as a leader? Because if you start a business, you will be the leader of your team. Do I make my own decisions? Do I enjoy competition? Because as an entrepreneur, there might be somebody else out there doing the exact same thing you're doing. So you might be in direct competition with someone else. Or do you mind being competitive? Do you have self-discipline? Because as an entrepreneur, there's no one looking down your shoulder saying, you need to do this. This is the deadline. You have to organize those things yourself. So are you disciplined enough to make sure you can get the business done that you need to get done? Do I plan ahead? And that's really important to think about as an entrepreneur, because there will be months where you have a lot of business, and then there will be other months where maybe your business is not as busy or not getting as many clients as you want. So you need to be able to plan ahead and project those things out, making projections like, your first year, you can't really make those projections, but by year 2 or 3, you're like, hey, I know I'm really busy between January and March because people are like making these New Year's resolutions. It kind of falls off in April. I need to plan ahead. Maybe I do something a little different, like, hey, getting beach body ready because we're projecting for the summer or spring break. So you always have to always be planning ahead. If you're in January, you should already be thinking about what you're going to do for the summer. So you want to be about 3 to 4 months out planning on what you're going to do. It's Thanksgiving week, like next week. So you shouldn't be doing your Thanksgiving planning. You should be already with New Year's or going into, like for Louisiana, Mardi Gras season, or what you're going to do. So you always want to be planning ahead. There's so many different resources that you can look at on the internet, but I do encourage you to do a lot of research. So these hyperlinks that I have put on here is the Small Business Administration. They'll help you write a business plan. I found the free PDF with Small Business for Dummies. It goes through all these different, it was like almost 400 pages worth of information. And then the Small Business Readiness Assessment, just asking you those questions. But finding those different resources, it's just a really quick Google search. You have it at the tip of your fingers now. Now, this is a book that I used when I started my business. It was Making Nutrition Your Business, Private Practice and Beyond. It was super duper helpful. So I did a quick Google search, and you can get this book as a used copy for about $10 on like different thrift book websites or like half.com. It's an essential resource for any dietetic professional considering switching to private practice, maybe consulting, writing, or speaking. The book talks about all types of things, like if you're going to go in solo practice, how you're going to structure your business. It talks about money management essentials. It talks about office space. And when you think about office space, it's like that can be like a loom and gloom, like that could be an additional cost. Some quick tips about thinking about office space that I didn't think about until I read the book and then talking to other entrepreneurs. Go in someone else's office. Maybe you lease out an office space in a doctor's office, a lawyer's office. When I started my private practice, I actually used the office space in my brother's law office. Like he had an extra office space that he wasn't using. And I was like, this would be a great place. Instead of having to pay an astronomical amount for rent space, I would just use the extra space in his office. So partnering up with somebody else just to use the office space, that would be a great idea. How to use technology and rev up your practice, marketing ideas. Now, when this book came out, social media was not as popular as it is now. Like all the different, I think Facebook might have been out and Instagram was just coming. So now we have Facebook, you have Instagram, there's TikTok, there's Twitter. It's so many other things out there to market your business. But I do want to let people know you don't have to use social media doesn't have to be your only source of getting business. I really don't even pub my private practice on social media, and I still get people to come to me through insurance companies or referrals from doctors or friends or things like that. So if you don't want to put your private practice on social media, don't feel like you're pressured to have to do it. I know a lot of dietitians who do not have social media pages and they do perfectly fine with getting clientele. But this book really, it's like step by step. It may be like 14 chapters, but each chapter makes you think about what you need to be doing, and it connects all the dots from you, like where to start. So using the Small Business Administration website and this book really kind of connected all the dots for me when thinking about starting my business. So some business essentials. So what skills do you need to be a business owner? You really need to think about financial management. Money drives your business. You don't want to like go broke in the first month of being in business. So managing your money, marketing, being able to communicate and negotiate. So negotiation skills are really, really important because you negotiate all types of contracts when you are now the owner of the business. You're not getting a set salary. So you're trying to get your best bang for your buck. So you need to be able to negotiate contracts well. Leadership skills. Think of, being a good leader, project management, planning, being able to delegate if you do have a team, time management. You can't really be a procrastinator and be great at entrepreneurship because things will build up and then it'll become a problem. Thinking about problem solving, how to work through adversity, that's really one of the key things as an entrepreneur, because you will get a lot of problems that you have to solve now. You're no longer the employee, you're the employer, and now you have to solve those problems. And networking, being able to talk about what you do with other dietitians, anybody that's in business, talk what you do, because you never know who you can connect with, who will want to bring you on to work with them. So being able to network. I'm going to say this again, you are the nutrition expert, but it's essential to build an awesome team of experts. So today I went to visit my accountant. I go see my accountant I feel like I have a date with him every 3 months. So I go see him quarterly to go over just all of my financial plans, and he keeps me in line. So he's really good at managing money and making sure that things are being spent where they're supposed to be spent, when I'm supposed to give donations and deductions. And he's always talking all of this stuff that I'm not the best at all of that, but he is. So getting an accountant, attorneys, it's really important to have a good attorney on board to read over any contract that you're going to sign, potentially from maybe an insurance company, state and government contracts, or just a basic contract that you're going to give with your clients. I would always have your attorneys look over those things just to make sure you're good to go from the legal standpoint. A banker. It's very important to have a good banker so they can tell you about what's the best account to get for your business, what credit cards are out there with the lowest interest rate. Even if you're not going to take a business loan out, it's really good to have a banker because they can tell you about different maybe promotions that the banks have in for businesses, such as they might be giving free checks away. And if anybody's ever had to buy business checks, those are quite expensive. Maybe it's like $200 to get some of the checks for the business account if you get the really large ones. So your banker can let you know when there's specials out there, or if you are to take out a loan, you've already built that relationship with that banker and they know who you are, they know your business, they're already tracking things. So it's easier to do the loan process. Some people get business consultants, they pay for them, but the Small Business Administration can help you find a business consultant. They normally have a business consultant in their office, and the Small Business Association, they're usually on all college campuses. You just Google Small Business Administration Baton Rouge, and they'll give you all the offices. Marketing, so maybe finding a PR person or somebody that runs your social media. If you feel that you're the best at running social media, maybe you could do it yourself, but as your business grows, you might want to bring on an intern or someone that really focuses on your marketing, and an IT support person. Now, COVID should have gotten everybody up to speed on all these computers, but if you need an IT support, like how to hook up maybe your scanner or your computers or things like that, having an IT support will be very beneficial. Now, when you're first starting out, you can always use the Geek Squad to be a part of your IT support team, just to kind of build, you can pay, I think you pay $250 a year, and you can always bring your computer if there's an issue and they'll work on it, and you can call them for other things and it'll be a discounted rate for you. So it's really important to kind of build that team. Understand that you cannot do everything alone. And when it came to me starting my business, I was very fortunate because my husband, he has his own business, and he was able to kind of guide and direct me on hey, this is where you need to go. This is who you need to talk to. And he was like a springboard of okay, who's a good accountant? What will I use your attorney? Which bank should I use? So finding somebody that can kind of help guide you is very important also. Now, when you're building this team, it's really important to understand that you need to work as a team as you're building the team. So it sounds, I guess, again, oh, we should know this. Teamwork means we work as a team. Now, as a team, there might be challenges. So maybe your accountant is telling you, hey, you don't need to buy this piece of equipment, or you don't need to rent this space just yet because financially you're not ready. And there's you guys are not on the same page, but he knows your money, your finances very well. So understand, let the subject matter experts kind of guide you on certain things so that you are doing what's best for you and your business. Now, I will say that, accountants will kind of go over your taxes and legitimate deductions. And I know our accountant kind of makes sure that our business is structured the way it's supposed to be structured and keeps our overall record keeping. Attorneys, they will review all the contracts, your business structure. They'll help come up with partnership agreements. Some people might say, hey, let's partner together to do X, Y, and Z. And both of you all have a business. It's really good to get a contract in place so that no one is held liable. No one can point the finger and we know who's liable for what. A banker, you want to have a great relationship with your banker. I do my banking with Red River Bank, here in Baton Rouge. And that's I really love my bank team. If there's ever a problem, I can call them. And when you build that relationship with your banker, literally, I have their cell phone numbers. Like if there's an issue with something on my account, I could just text one of them and say, hey, here's my issue. And the banker can also help you set up maybe like your retirement accounts, because now you're running the business and you want to make sure you are setting yourself up for the future. So they could also assist with your retirement accounts. Also, if you have an accountant who does that, they can help you do that as well. Okay. So the Small Business Administration, they have many free tools. I put all these hyperlinks because I want you to know, like, you just click on this stuff, and the SBA has a lot of stuff. Like they recommend. So when I was going on the SBA website, these are some things that they recommend you do when you're starting your business. You want to conduct market research. You want to see, how will my business be different from the next person? Because there's a lot of people out there that focus on private practice as a dietitian, but will you focus on eating disorders? Will you focus on maybe diabetes clients? Will you focus on children specifically? Will you be doing just sports nutrition? So you want to kind of do your market research, see what's missing in the market, and compare that with what you're good at. The SBA also recommends that you create a business plan. And we'll kind of go over that a little bit in the next few slides. But the business plan is your foundation on what you're going to do. SBA can help you select a business location if you're looking for a location. But I highly recommend you kind of like starting out. If you don't have a location, maybe partnering with someone or going into a doctor's office space. They can assist you with your business structure, help you choose a business name, because when you choose a business name, it might be a cool name, but someone might already have that name. So there's a tool to search and look and see if your business name is available. And it can help you, the SBA can help you register your business, kind of sending you over to the Secretary of State website on how to register the business. So being an entrepreneur can have advantages and disadvantages. So being an entrepreneur, you can control your own schedule. You make the schedule, you say when it's going to happen, when you're going to meet, how you're going to do it. You can balance your work-life balance. If you're a parent, you can say, hey, I'm not going to work on these days. These are the days I will work. These are the times I work, because you're running all of that. Potential earnings. You have the potential to make as much as you want or as least as you want, because you're setting the price point that you're charging, and you're not at a set salary like you would be at a company as an employee. Expressing your own style. So what you say, what you do, is all a representation of who you are as an entrepreneur, and you get to control all that as an entrepreneur. Like if you set the standard and say, this is what I want to do, this is how it's going to happen. And these are all the advantages of being an entrepreneur. However, just the same way you have advantages, there are some disadvantages of being an entrepreneur. You're doing it all. So you're the boss, you're the head coach, you're making all the moves. Nutritional counseling or consulting will be just one small part of what you do in your business. The challenge of learning to do all these new things as an entrepreneur can be overwhelming at times. Like you are doing multiple jobs. Sometimes you're doing your secretary work. You may be creating a new handout. Instead of just purchasing it, you're like, hey, I can just make this. You have all these new responsibilities on your shoulders. You're making sure the finances are done correctly. You're making sure people that are supposed to get paid are getting paid. You're making sure you're getting your money in from contracts. If you have contracts out, you're doing the billing portion if you decide to do billing yourself and not contract that out to a third party. Financial concerns. There's always financial risk when owning a business. Cash flow could be a potential problem. You should always track which months to buy and which months are slow and which months are, your uptick of months. And you always want to track your finances. Even though I have an accountant, I track my finances. Like I pick a day of the week. It's normally a Friday, and I track all the expenses from personal expenses to business expenses so that I can see where all my money's going. Professional isolation. So when you say you start working at a hospital and there's 9 other dietitians, you have people to bounce ideas off of, ask questions. Now, if you are the sole person in your practice and you're the only dietitian, it can become a little, isolated, but you want to make sure that's why it's important to network and stay connected with other dietitians, and joining those DPD groups, the dietetic practice group. They have one for entrepreneurs, and that's a great way to stay connected and not feel so isolated. So should you get a business partner or investor? So previously I let you know, so my husband was my business partner when starting out because he had all the knowledge base. So when you have a business partner, that bridges that gap for you. When you find someone that has a wider range of knowledge than you do, and they have an expertise in different things. So my expertise was in nutrition, and my husband's expertise was in contracts. And so we kind of bridge that gap. Potential partners or investors can bring an infusion of money or cash to the business. This person may have more strategic connections, maybe with banks or other investors than you do. The right business partner may also enhance your ability to borrow money. So if you have a business partner, the bank may look at you as less of a risk now since you have a business partner. More business opportunities. This person may be a little more well-connected than you. Maybe you're new to the area and this person's not new in the area, and they have business connections that can connect you with. Better work-life balance. So it's not all on you. So now that you have a partner that can help you, have somebody you can bounce ideas off of, you can debrief every day, like, hey, these are the challenges that I face, and this is maybe what I need help with. You'll have some moral support having a business partner when you experience those setbacks, or help you cope with any everyday frustrations that you might have as a business person. So tax benefit. Now, I'm going to say this disclaimer, please discuss this with your accountant, but a possible advantage of a general partnership may be a tax benefit for you. A general partnership may not pay income taxes. Again, I say discuss that with your accountant, but these are some of the advantages of having like a business partner or investor. And investors can always infuse money in and bounce off those ideas or connect you with other people, the same as a business partner. So some disadvantages, just like I said, with being an entrepreneur, of getting a business partner or investor. So liabilities. So in addition to sharing those profits and assets, and maybe this infusion of money, a partnership also entitles you to sharing business losses. So maybe your business partner lost something and it could affect you as in the business. You might be responsible for some of the debt that they have. So that's why it's really important to get a contract and have a lawyer on board so that you can have this written down, who's responsible for what. But if you don't have a contract, you could be held liable for a lot of things. And it even, so in some partnerships, depending on how it's written up, even if the business partner accrue some debt, you can accrue that same debt, and it can put a burden on your finances, your personal and business finances. So you lose autonomy when you are with a business partner. Well, you won't control everything in the business. Now you have to share this with someone else. Maybe you have to ask before you do things when it comes to the business, purchasing things, making a decision about the business. Now that you have a business partner or partners, you need to be able to discuss this with them. Emotional issues. So if you guys are facing challenges and don't know how to effectively communicate, then it can become an emotional issue, and there can be some conflict. So when you're weighing the pros and cons of should I get a business partner or not, never forget about the emotional part when it can become those challenges and maybe you guys are not seeing eye to eye. So future selling complications, as a circumstance changes in your future, you and your partner may wish to sell the business. This could present difficulties if one partner is not willing to sell, but another partner wants to sell. So it can become some issues in the relationship and in the business. Lack of stability. So when balancing the advantages and disadvantages of a partnership, you need to consider if you're able to cope with unpredictability. Even if you have a solid exit strategy, in your partnership agreement, the change triggered by the partner's situation or instability in the business can change how the partner feels about it. So you can lose some stability with the business partner. All right. So some tips. The biggest thing that I can come up with when it comes to talking about business tips, you want to keep your business expenses low. Hold on. Sorry. You want to make sure you keep those business expenses low, very, very low. You want to keep them as low as possible. So thinking about how you combine things, moving into another office space, maybe working from home. So COVID taught us we could do a lot of things from home. And one thing that has really ramped up in the dietetic practice is telehealth. Now, we'll go into some services you can use, but telehealth is becoming really popular and a lot of people are just working from home. So it's really easy now to kind of keep those business expenses low by combining some of your spaces together. All right, so dietetic business basics. So to open up a diet, like a private practice, you will need your RDN licensure. So if you're not staying in the state of Louisiana, you need to make sure your state has a licensure so that you can do this. But in Louisiana, our licenses are protected. So you want to make sure that you have your Louisiana licensure. You want to make sure you choose a business name. You go to the Secretary of State website and put in whatever business name you're thinking about. They'll let you know if it's taken. If it's not, you can get your business name. You need to discuss with your lawyer and your accountant how you're going to set your business up. Will it be a basic LLC? Will it be a C Corp or S Corp? They will help you decide what's best for you. You want to make sure you get an employee identification number or an EIN. It's just a number that the IRS gives you that you need. It's like, you know how we have social security numbers with your business, you have an EIN or your tax identification number. Now that you're we are medical professionals, you need your national provider identifier. This is used to identify you when you are applying for different contracts. When it comes to insurances, you have to have your MPI number so that they can attach who you are as it says your name and then that you're the dietitian. So also you want to think about insurances. Never really thought about this when I was working for someone else. They always cover the insurances. But if you're going to do any type of small business, you need to think about professional liability insurance as a dietitian. So that typically, if I have to think about it, that runs about maybe $150 to $200 a year. One of the contracts that I had to have car insurance. So car insurance can run you from $200 to $300 a month. General liability insurance, that's required on a lot of contracts because if you're going out to facilities, maybe inspecting kitchens or anything like that, they don't want to be responsible if you have an accident. So you need to have general liability insurance. Your health insurance. So when you were working for someone, they let you elect what your health insurance plan would be. But now that you're the business owner, you need to think about your own health insurance and figure out which one works best for you. And then life and disability insurance. So when you're working for someone, they normally let you elect to get life insurance, and then you can do short-term or long-term disability insurance. So think about that now since you are the business owner. All right, so some different dietetic tools that you can use. I highly encourage, if you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, to join the Nutrition Entrepreneur Dietetic Practice Group. There's a lot of people you can connect with that's not in the state. They're going to be all over the United States, but you can find out some different, how they're doing things. You can ask questions, maybe ask them what electronic charting system they use. And so going into the electronic charting systems, these are the two that I'm very familiar with. I personally use Simple Practice. It's very easy to use. It's super inexpensive. I think it's like $60 a month. It's HIPAA protected, and it's very easy. They set up my documents if I need to send something to a client in terms of their basic information, like the forms you need, to get a person started. Like when you go to the doctor's office, they send that over to you. You'll have a portal for your clients to keep up with their those documents. Additionally, they can help you bill. Once you bill with them, they track your finances. So I can send that report over to my accountant if I need to. Healthy, I looked at it and it was I went through the website and I was like, okay, this one seemed very beneficial also. And then for nutrition education materials, when thinking about nutrition education materials, it can become very time consuming having to make handouts or things like that based on these different conditions. So I recommend looking at the nutrition care manual that they have it for adults, pediatric, and sports. Now it does cost, but I would say it's cheaper to pay for this and have to create new handouts every time you have a new client. So it's a cost that I feel like it's very beneficial because it reduces the time I have to think about coming up with a handout. If a person comes with type 2 diabetes, I just click and there's a handout already created. If a child comes with celiac disease, it's really easy. The handout's already made it, just review it and go it over with your client. So sometimes you have to spend a little bit more so you can reduce the amount of time that you're actually working on those things. So when it comes to health insurance and contracts, so when you want to be able to be a provider for health insurance companies, you have to go through the insurance credentialing process. So each insurance credentialing process, they're all different, but you have a database now that you can use. It's called CAQH. You put all your information in there and you let that insurance company know, hey, my information in CAQH So they won't ask you for so much information, but you're still filling out applications for them. So if I have to rank my insurance companies, I tell my students this all the time. So if you're online, you already know that my favorite insurance company would be Blue Cross Blue Shield, because they pay out quicker than anybody else. They have a great support team if you need help filling out anything on their website. They send someone out to you to walk you through, like as a new provider, on like what information you need, how long it's going to take. All insurance companies don't pay the same. You have a contracted rate on what they're going to pay you, and based on what area you're in as how much you'll get paid. So whatever your contracted rate is, that's how much you'll get paid from the insurance company. And if the person has a deductible, you'll get the additional money from, like, if they have a copay, if they have a copay, they'll pay you the copay, and then the insurance will pay the other part. Medicare and Medicaid, those are additional insurance companies that you can apply to. The process is a little lengthy, and they don't pay out on certain conditions. Like, just because a person wants to go see a dietitian, Medicare and Medicaid may not pay for it. Unlike Blue Cross Blue Shield, a lot of their policies will allow at least once a year of a dietitian visit. And a lot of people don't even realize that's in their benefit package. So when people ask me, well, can I come see you? And they tell me they have Blue Cross Blue Shield, I run their insurance, and I can see if they get one visit that they don't have to pay any copay, that the insurance will cover it all. So when you submit to insurance companies, you have to fill out a CMS 1500 form. This is where you put in like the diagnosis codes, the procedure codes, and kind of like tell what you did, and you submit the CMS 1500 to the insurance company. This is standard across the board, no matter what the insurance company is, Medicare, Medicaid, you have to fill out your CMS form. It's electronic. So for example, with Blue Cross Blue Shield, it's on their system, you fill it out and you submit it directly to them. And the United Healthcare is the same way. You fill it out on their website. So some dietitians might not want to take insurance because they feel like it's, number one, time consuming. They might not be getting as much as they want financially from that. So they do self-pay options. And if you're doing a self-pay option, you just want to give your client a super bill, kind of like documenting everything you did with the client based on those CPT codes. And when you put those CPT codes, a lot of insurance companies will reimburse the client based on what they've already paid. So it just kind of depends on what you want to do. I accept healthcare insurance because I was doing contracts also. So I kind of like balance it out. If you feel like you're not going to get enough insurance claims, then maybe don't accept the insurance and go with self-pay, or just do contracts. It really depends on like what you want to do as the dietitian. I will say this, being able to, when you accept insurance, is your name go in their database. So when someone's looking for a provider, your name comes up, they'll contact you that way. One thing that I didn't put in those previous slides when thinking about marketing, a lot of people talk about social media. A lot of people talk about, oh, that's how I get my clients. One thing that I did, I found all the doctors in my network, and I just wrote a letter. I put my business card, I put my picture, I told what I did, and you get referrals that way. Doctors want to know who can they refer their clients to. So if they have you in their Rolodex, then they can refer their clients to you, or their patients to you. So that's another way for marketing. So, all right. So when it comes to state and federal contracts, so remember I told you all that my husband was his background is in contracts. So he was a military officer, and he learned a lot. He was a contracting officer for the United States Army. So some of the things that he taught me is, when you're looking for contracts, like a state or a federal contract, you want to go to the PTAC, or the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers. There's local offices all throughout the state. So if you just put in procurement, the PTAC of Baton Rouge, it will come up, or the Small Business Administration will help you. When I was living in the Alexandria area, actually the Small Business Administration sat down with me. They went over all the information about the federal and state contracts, and they honestly helped me fill out everything I needed to fill out. And when they would have like contracts for nutrition or whatever I put in my DUNS number, those emails would come to me, and I can apply for them if I wanted to. Another one for federal contracts. So procurement the PTAC is federal and state contracts, but the System for Award Management, SAMS.gov, that's for federal contracts. You have to register in their system, and then you can see what contracts are available, and then you can apply for those contracts. So as a private practice, maybe you have 2 or 3 dietitians working for you or working under you, you can apply for some contracts and do contracting on military or government installations as a dietitian, and you can get contracts that way. So it's a lot of when it comes to health insurance and contracts, this is a great way to increase your business and your cash flow in the business. So remember when I said a little bit back, like, hey, maybe you're seeing a lot of clients January through March, but in February, when those other months you're not seeing as many, this is when you can probably apply for your contracts or prepare to say, these are when I'm going to do my contracts. Always planning ahead as an entrepreneur. So just to kind of sum up everything, I want to encourage you to do all the research possible, especially your market research. See what other dietitians are doing. Don't hesitate to ask a dietitian what they're doing. Volunteer now if you're a student, just kind of see what all different dietitians are doing. So when it's time for you maybe to open up your private practice, you can take all the information you learned and say, hey, I like what she did, I like what he did, and put it all together. When thinking about entrepreneurship, it's very important to create a plan. If you don't have a plan, it's really hard to get financed. Especially with if you don't have a business plan. Banks want a business plan. That's one of the first things they're going to ask you. Okay, let me see your business plan. Inside the business plan, they want to see how you're going to pay for this, what's your projection, how you're going to get revenue. So your business plan is your foundation. So you want to make sure you have a plan. The Small Business Administration has a tool. It'll walk you step by step on how to create a business plan. There's no point to recreate the wheel. The information is already out there and giving you step by step what you need to do, but you're going to put inside that plan what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And when you're creating the plan, you need to think about all the expenses that you're not paying for as an employee, but as an employer, you got to think about who's going to pay for those handouts. How much time is going to take you to make these handouts. That's why I encourage like the nutrition care menu, because it decreases the amount of time that I have to do these handouts. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You can't do it alone. Make sure you build a team that you're able to ask for help. And I always refer back to my accountant because he's became my best friend. Like I ask him all types of questions just to make sure I'm on track financially, because you always want to plan for the future. You want to plan for those your retirement. So you want to make sure that you ask for help. And the biggest thing as a person that wants to start a business, you just have to start. I mean, will you make mistakes? Yes. That's why you build an awesome team around you, but don't be afraid to just get started and put yourself in the right position and you will be perfectly fine. When it comes to entrepreneurship, if I could give my testimony, it was a leap of faith. I started it while I was already working. And then when I left the job, I just kept my private practice. I have clients that have followed me from the Leesville, Fort Polk area. Now, I still do the simple practice. So we do telehealth. And it's a HIPAA protected line. So I absolutely enjoy the private practice sector of it. But I learned so much from my previous employers, and I used that in my business. I used what I liked and I took away, like if there was something I didn't like, I said, well, that's not what I'm going to do. That's not what I want to do in my business. But the biggest thing, you just have to get started. So I hope that you learned, this was just supposed to be a overview of all the information. I do highly encourage you to go and check out the book that I posted, because it was really my guide to get me started, and the Small Business Administration. So I want to open it up now to any questions. Any questions? Brooke, what's your question, Brooke?
Okay. So our first question would probably be, how do you suggest someone would go about like objectively figuring out what type of management style they are currently?
So you got to think about who you are as a person. Like, how do you handle situations? Like when you're in a group and you have to like take charge in a group or be in a group, think about your, I would say your characteristics when working with a group, and it kind of will help you figure out what your leadership style would be.
Gotcha. Okay. And then the next, whenever you mentioned going to doctor's offices and sort of just leaving your name so that way you can hopefully they'll get some referrals. How does that work with, I know if you get the referral, right, do you get to use the code for billing? Yes.
When they refer you over, like when they refer their patient to you, you're going to bill for yourself. So you would use all your nutrition codes.
And then on the flip side of that, if they're just coming without a referral, how would that work?
So depend on their insurance. So if they're going to be self-pay, you just give them a super bill and they're good to go. If it's going to be, if they want to use their insurance, some insurances require you to do a pre-authorization. Not all insurances, but you want to run their insurance to make sure that they're covered. And if they're not covered, then they're going to have to pay, what your charge would be.
I'll be quiet.
Okay, so Cassie said, what would be an anticipated timeline for research and gathering resources? Honestly, there's no specific timeline, but I would give yourself at least 3 to 6 months to kind of figure out, do your market research, see what type of business structure you want to set up, setting up the team ahead of time. So giving yourself 3 to 6 months, I feel like that's adequate enough time. Some people take longer, based on maybe they're working a job and they're trying to set up their business. But if you have the time, I would say about 3 to 6 months would kind of get you started. Anyone else?
I have one more.
Oh, good.
So I know you've definitely in previous jobs been a preceptor, but have you ever been a preceptor or had someone shadow you?
Can you say it again?
Oh, sorry. So I know in your previous job, you were a preceptor, but as far as your business that you own, have you ever had a intern or someone to come shadow you?
Okay. So I have, let's see. Yeah, I have. I've had some people come. When I was in Colorado. No, not in Colorado. When I started, I did have someone that just kind of shadowed me. Now that we are in the COVID era, it's a little different with the shadowing. Some clients are not comfortable having a third person on the conversation with them. But yeah, I have had a few people shadow. Anyone else?
So I'll just say it does sound very exhausting starting a business by yourself. I did not realize how much goes into it. You have to have a lot of confidence in yourself to keep going, I bet.
You do, because people will tell you no all the time. So I've just learned not to take no for an answer. Like, I'm just going to keep asking you different ways until not that I get what I want, but till I reach my goal. So that is why I decided to write all of those doctors. Now, did all of them say, yes, I'm going to send you clients? No, but 10 of them wrote back to me. Out of the 100, 10 wrote back to me and said, hey, we'll refer clients to you. So you have to just understand that, you'll face some challenges. People will tell you no, but just keep going. You can't stop. So Asia asks, when did you feel open and private practice was the right thing for you in your career? So I don't know if I just said to myself, this is the right time. I was just like, this is what I want to do. And I told you I don't really take no for an answer. So I told my husband about it and he was like, well, let's just try it out. Let's just see what happens. In his mind, he felt like no one was going to come. But then after we got those letters back from doctors, people started showing up. And so it worked out that way. So I guess it's whenever you feel the most comfortable in your career, like maybe you've worked several jobs. Now, will I say you should come out and be a private practice dietitian right after graduation? No, you want to get some experience. So maybe at the 3 or 4 year mark, maybe you'll feel comfortable, but it depends on your confidence level. It depends on how comfortable you are working as an entrepreneur. So it just it's like individualized. And don't take no for an answer. I'm just going to keep emphasizing that. I do not take no for an answer, you guys. Even when it comes like for my garden project, if someone tells me no, I'm going to figure out something else. That's why I learned that for my business. Like if they said, no, you can't do this. Now that we have telehealth, people love it because they can talk to you they don't have to leave their homes. They don't have to leave their office. They can go on a lunch break, talk to you and go back to work. And you still get paid as a dietitian, like for your work.
All right, if no one else has any questions, I just wanted to remind those that are with us that are RDs or DTRs, please make sure you sign in so that we can email you the CEU for this talk. And if no one has any questions, I guess we can wrap it up. But thank you so much, Alexis, for sharing pretty much everything I learned in business school in about 45 minutes.
I was like, I had like 50 slides and my husband was like, cut that down. So.
But thank you everybody for coming and attending. And if we hope to see you at the social in December.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Ms. Motley.